From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Thursday, June the 20th, 2024. Intense fighting continues in Gaza between Israeli troops and terror group Hamas, with IDF soldiers eliminating terrorists and terror infrastructure, including today, it shared, eliminating a top Hamas commander who participated in the October 7th massacre. He was taken out in a precise and targeted airstrike. The IDF said he was a squad commander who infiltrated into and carried out attacks on communities in southern Israel during the October 7th massacre, and led and directed sniper activity and took part in Hamas's attacks on IDF troops. The IDF noted prior to the airstrike, a number of steps were taken in order to mitigate harm to civilians during the operation, saying as a result, no civilians were injured during the strike. And the IDF continues to defend its northern border against terror group Hezbollah in Lebanon, who continue to fire rockets at northern Israel, with a reported 45 rockets fired at the area today. Earlier, the Israeli Air Force had taken out a commander of operations of Hezbollah in a drone strike, saying that he was responsible for planning and executing terrorist plots against Israeli territory. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met today with a bipartisan U.S. congressional delegation at his office in Jerusalem. The delegation led by former U.S. House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer, where the Prime Minister's office said Netanyahu expressed appreciation for the bipartisan support for Israel and said that he hopes that the munitions issue will be resolved soon, referring there to comments he made early this week in a video about his meeting with U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, where Netanyahu said he thanked Blinken for the U.S. support for Israel, but also told him it's inconceivable that in the past few months, the administration has been withholding weapons and ammunition to Israel. Netanyahu saying Blinken assured me that the administration is working day and night to remove these bottlenecks. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre was asked about the Prime Minister's remarks during a press briefing, where she said, "We genuinely do not know what he's talking about. We just don't." Jean-Pierre noting there was one particular shipment of munitions that was paused, apparently over concerns the munitions could be used in a densely populated area like Rafah. Jean-Pierre said, though, there are no other pauses, no other pauses or holds in place. The delegation also met today with Israel's President Isaac Herzog, who said, "At our meeting, I emphasized the importance of the strong and solid relationship between our people. Israel thanks the United States for its unwavering support during the war, for its extensive support Israel receives from both sides of Congress, and for President Biden for his support for Israel and the clear message of unity and solidarity from the American people." Herzog saying, "I told the members of the delegation that we are in a tough fight for the benefit of the free world as a whole against the evil empire. That is why we must stay together in a strong alliance." Turning now to France, where 3 boys aged 12 to 13 were arrested by French police on suspicion of raping a 12-year-old Jewish girl in a Paris suburb on Saturday night. The attack reportedly motivated by antisemitism. 2 of the suspects were charged with gang rape, anti-Semitic insults and violence, and issuing death threats. The horrific crime has shocked the Jewish community in France and beyond. And yesterday, demonstrators gathered at Paris's City Hall in outrage over the crime and the rise in anti-Semitism in the country, which surged since October the 7th. The New York City Police Department shared an image of a man who shouted threats on a New York City subway. NYPD Chief of Transit posted that NYPD detectives are looking for this individual, wanted in connection to a criminal incident on June the 10th inside a packed subway car at Union Square Station, where he shouted, "Raise your hands if you're a Zionist. This is your chance to get out," asking those with information to contact Crime Stoppers. We reported to you about this incident, which took place on the same day as threatening protests were held outside the Nova exhibit in Lower Manhattan. The exhibit commemorating the over 360 people murdered at the music festival during the October 7th massacre. Taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Thursday, June the 20th at 7 o'clock. It's the opening plenary of the American Jewish Committee's Global Forum with a tribute to those lost since October the 7th, remarks from President Herzog, international Jewish leaders on rising antisemitism, and actor Michael Rappaport with Aviva Klampus on social media advocacy for Israel, as well as the launch of AJC's Heroes of Israel, highlighting extraordinary citizens. At 9, it's Jack Laub on L'chaim. At 10, and also coming up next, FIDF CEO Steve Weil speaks with Brigadier General in Reserve Nitzan Nuriel to discuss the IDF's efforts to avoid casualties, the mission to prevent Hamas from staying in power, and the roles of Syria, Iran, Egypt, as well as the threats from Hezbollah from Lebanon. At 10:30, an encore of this newscast. And that's the JBS News Update for Thursday, June the 20th, 2024. I'm Teisha Bader. Am Yisrael Chai.